It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 50 today. Come on in. The water is really extra terrific today. The hot tub is fired up, grill off to the right, as well as vegetables and fruit. Your favorite drinks off to the left. Your favorite cold drinks, that is. Hot drinks are inside. Help yourself. Go in and out as you need to today, but spend as much time outside as possible. Taking in the sun, the breeze, the ocean air. It's all here for you on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists as we spend this next hour together, clothes-free. Clothes-free living for all the right reasons. And as I've said before many times, we look forward to this time together with you, enjoying the naturist life, the nudist life, the naked life. Just enjoying it, taking it all in. You are you, I am me, they are them. All the facades are gone, all the barriers are gone. We just enjoy each other, the time together. And again, clothes-free living for all the right reasons. Episode 50 today, believe it or not. That's right, 50. Our 50th straight week of broadcasting and our 50th episode. Once a week, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. We have not missed any, even on Christmas weekend, New Year's weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, Easter weekend, and everything before, in between and after. We've been here for you, enjoying this life together. And if you're reasonably new, yes, a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, drops on Spotify. That we control. We can put it there as we need to. From there, it goes to every podcast platform under the sun, but we have no control as to when it gets there. Might be there instantly, might be an hour, might be 5 minutes. We have no idea. But we know that you can find us on Spotify, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, every single Saturday morning. We also give you a brand new YouTube preview every Wednesday at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to check that out as well. And we recently started giving you about a 1-minute promo once a week on Twitter. You can follow us there. You can write to us, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. And definitely check out our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, for more information on everything that we do here. We enjoy hearing from you, so please write early and often. Keeps us going, makes our day when we get a message on Twitter or an email. We discuss everything here. We write back. And life continues to be terrific, living the clothes-free life for all of the right reasons. Well, on today's show, we will hear from ANDEE RODGERS and her husband, Tom. They recently visited Lake Bronson Resort. They'll have a report from there. Of course, we'll talk to Lisa Monroe, our naturism correspondent, on a number of things going on in the world of naturism. And we'll have part 2 of my interview with Bruce from Adelaide, South Australia. But for now, let's get to ANDEE RODGERS and her husband, Tom, their latest report, this one from the very nice Lake Bronson.
Hi, this is ANDEE.
And this is Tom with the WINR on Wheels I'm Perfect Tour.
Lake Bronson Family Nudist Club, which is near Sultan, Washington, is one of our home clubs. So we were both very excited to be here and share with our friends, many of whom have become family to us, really. We have our own spot here where our RV lives when we're not taking it out on tour. But the women of Lake Bronson prepared for my I'm Perfect workshop with beautiful flower arrangements for the walls and the tables as well. And they also provided just a bounty of charcuterie and snacks and drinks for both the women's and the men's time together. It was impressive. Well, I was beyond excited to talk with this group of women because many of them are the reason I've grown so much in my confidence since becoming a nudist. And nearly 30 of the women of this club joined me for the afternoon. One of the main points I wanted to get across to them was how profoundly they have helped me in my acceptance of myself. with time spent down on the dock or on the beach in conversation, they would tell me the strength that they saw in me, strength that I certainly didn't think that I had. Many were times where we spent at someone's home, just playing games or sharing a meal, spending time together, lifting each other up, laughing together, sometimes crying together, but just being there for each other. One of the ladies said, "Hey, we need to do this more often." And by this, she meant just the women getting together. I wholeheartedly agreed with her, and I mentioned that I've been asking each club to start a winter group for two reasons. So, the first being it's essential for us to get together, to learn from each other, and to build each other up. Spending time together also gives us a chance to hear each other's stories and make connections we never knew about. And this only happens when we spend time together going deeper about our relationships, not just the hi, how are you, but really spending valuable time together. The other reason is that the club would then be listed on the winner registry for places that single women could go to, and they'll have another woman that they can connect with, especially for those first time visits that can be a little scary. Towards the end of our session together, I shared some things that we can do to help get that negative voice out of our head that creeps in and when it creeps in. The first would be to let go of society's expectations. They're unrealistic. Never going to meet them, and we shouldn't have to. So just let go of those expectations. Another is give yourself time to unlearn a lifetime of negative words and hate. We've been listening to that for, I have for 50 years. And so it doesn't just stop immediately. So allow yourself time to change that narrative. Another is journaling. So write down at least three good things about your day. If you've had a bad day, find three good things. And then another thing that my friend Diane suggested was to keep a picture of yourself, or I keep a picture of my youngest daughter at age 6 in front of my journal, and talk to yourself or talk to that picture um, in your journal, uh, thinking that if we just talk badly about ourselves, and you should journal that, but also look at the picture and think of, would I talk to my young self that way? Would I talk to my daughter that way? And of course, we wouldn't. But it's just a useful tool to change that narrative in your head from the negative to something different. Also, name the voice in your head and talk to it just like you would someone else, either just in your head, and sometimes I do it out loud. But name that voice. And the last was to encourage each other. Write each other notes. Tell each other the things that you see that are positive about each other. And then one really fun thing I do with one of my best friends who lives here, of course, is to hide cards in each other's houses. So we'll get 6 to 8 cards. We fill them out, write encouraging words in them, or just fun things in them, and then we hide them all over our houses. And sometimes it takes months to find those cards, and we just switch back and forth. It's my turn to put cards in her house. And as we were going out on tour, I had to call her and say, "I cannot find that last card." And she's like, "Well, too bad, because you've almost touched it several times." And so it took me 2 months to find that card, but it was fun. It's so fun. So just encourage each other. Always continue to encourage the women around you.
Wow, what a turnout. We had a total of 26 guys that were very interested in our trip we had just taken and wanted to know what was the main questions a lot of the other clubs asked. The main question was, of course, how do we get younger people in our clubs? Which this club seems to have that one pretty much figured out, in my opinion. That was asked everywhere we went. So we talked about having the young people have lives that they are just tied up in, and they just simply do not belong to clubs. We talked about when younger women come to the clubs and how they are treated when they get here? Do men leave them alone and let them just explore themselves, or are they being hounded while they're here? Then we talked about ANR. Since this is a 100% club, I asked if everyone understood what ANR was doing for them as a member. One question was brought up was, does ANR regulate these clubs? I told them no. They do have guidelines, but every club is governed and ran on its own. We had a guest who had a club in Hawaii. He was here with his family, and his place over there is Hawaiian Naturist Park, and was very interested in how this club was run. They really enjoyed Lake Bronson because of the number of young people here with families, and it just looked great. He had been to a lot of clubs stateside, and the feeling is like going to grandma's trailer park on most of the clubs. Lake Bronson does not have that feel. He explained that when young people come to nudist places, if it looks like a trailer park, they're not going to return. They want to return somewhere where it's looks and feels great. He remarked that Lake Bronson is updating their facilities and all the time redoing things to get a fresh look. It was a great discussion, that lasted for 2 hours. This club has everything going for it, in my opinion. I'm a little biased living in the Pacific Northwest and knowing that this club is the go-to for young families.
So later that evening, Tom and I hosted the theme dance, which was Castaways. We dressed up as Gilligan and Ginger from Gilligan's Island. We danced well into the night and we got to sleep around 2 a.m., but we just had an absolutely fun time with everybody that joined us for the dance. The following day was Lake Bronson's traditional Memorial Weekend progressive dinner. It was a little cold, so the turnout wasn't as big as the norm, but still lots of people braved the weather to spend time with each other and enjoy some great food and drink. We started at 4 p.m. with the cocktail hour, and then the probably 60 of us, or 60 to 80 of us, I think, progressed to the appetizers section. You just kind of meander down the road. You progress further down the road. Next up was the main course, which Tom and I helped with, of hot dogs with all the trimmings. And then we moved on through the RV parking lot to the last station, which was dessert. And then there was a large fire uh, s- already going and warm for us to gather around and get warm. Um, it was an incredible weekend all the way around, with the support from this club to make our events the huge success that they were. We just really want to say thank you to Lake Bronson. And then all throughout the weekend, the women of Lake Bronson continued to talk with me and express their appreciation for sharing my story with them. One woman said that she took notes as I spoke and then she shared them with me. And there were so many points that mirrored my journey as well. Many of us have those connections that we'll never find out about until we start sharing on a deeper level with each other. Those connections bind us together and help us to know that we're not alone in our journey.
Until next time, we'll see you down the road.
And there you go, the latest report from ANDEE RODGERS of WINR, Women in Nude Recreation, for the American Association for Nude Recreation, and her husband Tom. A couple of very terrific people, and we appreciate all that they do. You're listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 50 today. That's right, episode 50. And as you can tell by the music that is sneaking in ever so quickly, it's time for the great, the one and only, the terrifically over the top, and yes, fully clothes free, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the very fully smiling and completely clothes free, the terrific Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I am doing really well this morning, and how about you?
Doing extremely well. Anything exciting to report from the last time we talked? You've been out there nude as can be in your backyard, any resorts, any beaches, or just home nudist, or what's been going on?
Basically, I had a lot to do, so staying at home. Just been a fun, hot time and fun to be outside, laying in the sun, nude, which
Yeah,
I at least can do. So that's about the extent of it, but always, always naked at home.
that's right. That's the way to do it. There was a time there not too long ago where I would try to get out in the sun every day. And recently I changed only because of some information and research out there. No issues on this end, but I try to get out there every other day, actually lying down in the sun. Now, the other days I might be out in the sun working, pulling weeds or whatever's going on. But for the most part, I try to not lie out in the sun, not lie out in the pool every day. I don't know if it's the right decision or not, but give it a shot. And my tan won't be as deep and dark as it was a few years ago. But you can tell I've been out in the sun, so I guess that works.
I think it does. And I think we've always overdone it because, when I grew up, it was, grab the suntan lotion and run outside. And I was, as a teenager, a suntan aficionado. I knew all the tricks, the trades, the baby oil, the whole nine yards, twisting and turning and raising arms and stuff. So you didn't have any tan lines. I learned all the tricks. And I guess in a lot of ways, from the time I was a little girl growing up, I was at the coast all the time. I ended up, getting tan from the time I was about 3. So any damage that was done to my skin that we didn't know was being done then has been done now. So I just try to be as cautious as I can be and make sure that I check anything out that I think it looks weird. And I think that's what people need to do. And it's like anything, it's moderation.
I know this one guy. I used to know him really well, not so well anymore, but still in contact occasionally. He's an American, fully white blooded, a white American person, but for whatever reason, when he goes tanning, he gets about as dark can be. And I finally asked him one year, a long time ago, how do you get such a deep, dark tan? And he said, well, he had a system. He would start off with, and he listed off all the elements that he would use. I don't know what he started with. Let's just say 50,
Hmm.
sunblock 50.
Hmm.
He goes, then I go down to whatever. He goes, then I go 8, 4, 2. He goes, then I just use baby oil. And then he goes, I even try cocoa butter. He goes, and you know what's next, don't you? I said, well, no, what? He goes, Crisco.
Oh
Now,
my goodness.
I hope and think that he was kidding, but I never saw him put Crisco on. But yeah, I think he was kidding. But some people are heavily into it, especially when they're younger, not realizing, if you're not careful, you could do some skin damage that can't be repaired, right?
This is true. Now, I have never heard of doing Crisco as much as I was a sun worshiper as a teenager and a young
Yeah.
adult, but the baby oil, yes, I
Yeah.
did do that.
Yeah.
And and it just felt good because it would get hot and you feel that heat on your skin from it. It was just really cool, but it's moderation. And
Yeah.
my grandmother she gardened. She could put a bonnet on, old timey gardener, put
Hmm.
a bonnet on. She could put a long sleeve shirt and pants on, and she could go out in the garden and she would come back in the house with a tan.
Wow.
Never, I mean, everything, her
Yeah.
arms, her face, her
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
So I come from a family that tans easily on one side and burns on
Okay.
the other. So
Okay.
I got best of both worlds.
Okay. And now we should be clear. We don't recommend baby oil or Crisco. Those
Oh,
are
heck
not
no, not
recommendations.
now.
Just things. Lisa did one, and the other guy
Yeah.
said he was going to. I don't think he did. I think he was kidding. But there are people who have told me no suntan lotion at all, but then don't stay out there all day. Stay
Yeah.
15 minutes, no suntan oil or lotion or whatever, and then get your fanny back inside and try it again the next day, or maybe 15 minutes tanning your front side, 15 tanning your back side, and then that's it. But so we're not experts on suntan
Yeah.
lotion. We're just telling you what we've done and what we've
Mm.
heard. Now we have an email today, but before we get to it, I want to talk a little bit about the aspect of being a home nudist. You mentioned that a few moments ago. You
Mhm.
didn't get out and about this week other than outside in your backyard for a little bit. I heard an interview with the gentleman who was a big part of starting, maybe he totally started Naturist Hub, social media
Mhm.
place for naturists. And in the interview, he said he discovered tons of home nudists out there. So people you wouldn't normally meet because they don't go to the beach, they don't go to the resort, they don't go on social media, they don't go on and try to find things. But when they get something like a naturist hub caters straight to naturists, they say, "Hey, I'm here, count me in. You'll never see me nude. I'll never show up at a resort, but I live clothes free all the time." Is that something you've heard about too? I mean, I have, but not to the degree he had. He was like really surprised at how many people are home nudists. What do you think?
I think there have to be a lot of people who are home nudists, and I think that they're quite comfortable doing that. They may not be, not everyone is socially gregarious,
Yeah.
and it may have nothing to do with body consciousness. It may just have something to do with how they like to interact with people,
Mhm.
and they don't like that, the crowds on a beach or the large number of people at a resort. And the nudity may not be a problem; it may be something else that they don't enjoy.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think so. And I was a home nudist for a very long time. I mean,
Mhm.
when I was in college, you didn't worry about being nude in the locker room, or you didn't worry about we snuck up on top of the dorm, and because we could get to the roof and we'd be on the roof naked.
Right.
Just a whole bunch of college girls.
Right.
But I think, yeah. So I think that it's possible. I think in a lot of ways, if you it depends on the environment you're in, the people that you live with. Maybe if they're also nudists and you have that interaction from that on that level of socialist naturism, but I think it's possible to be that way and
Yeah.
just be happy being home.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I know one particular couple. I forgot how it came up in conversation some years ago, at least 10 years ago, that they are home nudists. And they quickly said, before I could even get a word in, they said, "By the way, you'll never see us nude.
Hmm.
We don't parade around, we don't go outside, and that's fine. That's the whole point of this. Live the life that you want to live. There are people who will tell you social naturism is the only way to go, and there are tremendous benefits in doing so. But if that's not your thing, stay home, clothes free, and nothing wrong with that, right?
No, I think
Mm.
there is at all, and it comes down also to if you reach out to social naturism, then it kind of validates how you feel about
Yes.
the being naked and being free and in communing with nature, whatever it is. But it gives you a sense of camaraderie and that people have like minded. You're not the weirdo because you
Hmm.
like to run around the house naked.
Yeah.
So there is that level, but I do think that there's some people who just may not be comfortable going out in front of other people, and I'm not sure that I think naturism can be whatever you want to. We're happy if we walk out in the woods by ourselves
Yeah.
and be a naturist. So
Right.
we don't necessarily need other people, but having other people around is a great experience as well.
Yeah. Now, as you know, we get a lot of emails, as in a whole bunch. If they were mail, the old U.S. mail, we'd have to, purchase a separate office just to store the mail that comes in. That's how many emails we get on this topic. People think they're at home, clothes free. They don't tell anybody. They just live clothes free. And this show has introduced them to the fact that, you know what, it's actually normal and a healthy thing to do. And how many people have said, "I thought I was just weird, wanting to be naked all the time, and you guys have helped show me, no, this is a great way to go." So we do cater to the 40 and up crowd. We get younger people too, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Right.
But we get people who, yeah, they go to the beaches, they go to the nude resorts, they lie out in the sun nude, and we get people who are nude only within their four walls of their home, telling them this is normal. It's actually how we were intended to be. So live your best life, and clothes free and living for all the right reasons seems to work for everybody when they try it, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And I think a good measure is think about how it is when you walk into your house from
Mm.
work. If you're like me, the key was going in the lock and the buttons were coming undone as that was happening. And I mean, I couldn't wait to get the door
Mm.
closed and the clothes came off in the entryway. I
Yeah,
mean, so there is a need, I think, for us to feel that freedom.
yeah,
And if you feel it and you only enjoy it inside, then just go for it whenever you can.
yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
important thing.
I want to get to this email from a young man. He recently turned 18. We have a lot of young listeners to this show. We appreciate all of our listeners. A lot of people say people don't get into naturism till they're older. Well, we have a bunch of younger folks who listen. This young man, I believe, is from Canada, but he'll be going to college in the U.S. He does not want us to use his name So I guess we'll just call him John Smith. Is that okay with you? Just
That sounds fine to
It's
me.
not his name, I guarantee. He says, "Hello, my name is John Smith. I'm an 18-year-old self-described naturist. I listen to your podcast every Saturday morning at my job at a grocery store. So sadly, I cannot be naked there, but when I get home, the clothes come right off. You and Miss Monroe have really inspired me and opened my eyes to naturism for all the right reasons. And this summer, I plan to visit all the naturist nudist communities I possibly can. The college I'm going to this fall has a naturist community just up the road from me. Keep up the podcast. You're helping more people than you know." Signed by Bob Smith. And that's basically what I just said. We're helping those people. Gosh, I'm naked all the time. I must be a weirdo or a psycho.
Hmm.
No, you're actually normal. People who put clothes on when they're alone. And that's a little bit unusual. Thoughts on that? He chose a college, and then he found a naturist resort not too far. And he's basically going to go to that naturist resort every chance he gets. I'm guessing naked all the time, except when he's in class. How about that?
I think it's wonderful. And I think that he's actually looked at himself and realized what he wants and what's making him happy.
Hmm?
And if we had any, ability in helping him make those decisions, then that's fantastic because that's what we want is to make people feel more comfortable doing what they enjoy doing. But I think he's planning his life to include naturism if he's chosen a college and then went searching for a resort to go to. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a wonderful thing, and I hope that resort welcomes him with open arms and shows him the right way to be a social nudist.
Yeah. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with the dorm life, but I do with the frat life. Not a lot of clothes going on in a frat, with guys. I mean, basically, the most anybody would wear would be underwear.
Yeah.
They'd come in, the shirts go off, the pants go. Yeah, I'm walking around in underwear, no big deal. And a number of them were nude,
Mhm.
totally acceptable. Now, again, that was a frat, so everybody had a common bond to be there to begin with, and it wasn't required. But in this case, he's 18, he's headed to college, wants to be nude, I think 25 hours a day, but he's certainly going to visit this naturist resort quite a bit. So hats off to Bob Smith, and we appreciate his email. And any last thoughts, Lisa, before we hit the road?
No, I just hope Bob has a wonderful college career and a lot of fun at the Naturist. And for everybody, just, stay naked when and where you can.
And on the next couple of shows, Lisa, depending on what happens between now and then, we have another email that we want to get to, fairly lengthy. A gentleman wrote to us about lack of nudity in a locker room / shower room at a workout club or a gym, how people go out of their way to keep covered up, to keep dressed, even shower with their bathing suits on. Totally ridiculous. We'll talk about that next time and maybe even the next 2 times. And with that, Lisa Monroe, go out there and have a great clothes-free week. We'll see you next time.
You too, Frank. Enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Bye.
The very terrific Lisa Monroe, as I like to say, brings a ray of sunshine every time she walks in, but then I always get in trouble from the other 3 ladies who work around here. Hey, what about us? Everybody brings a ray of sunshine here, but Lisa Monroe, we enjoy her segments, of course, and we want to thank her for all of her work on the website. Everything you see on the website is her work, and she's working on actually upgrading and updating that. And we appreciate all that Lisa Monroe does for us on this show. You're listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 50 today. We thank you for being with us. Absolutely love and enjoy this time together. It gives us 1 hour a week to be together, and even more when you write to us. nakedforevermore@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter. But for now, let's get to part 2 of my interview with blogger, podcaster, videocaster, the very terrific Bruce from Adelaide, South Australia. Now, I want to get into a couple of other things here, starting with your wife, that situation. But before we do, remind everybody, we're talking to Bruce from Adelaide in South Australia, a longtime pastor, has left being a pastor, discovered naturism as a teenager, preteen years or so, and lived as a closet nudist, naturist for a long time. But before we do that, you've recently, you told me back in, I think, November, December, you were going to be more of an out there person in terms of promoting naturism. And I understand you've started a blog and even somewhat of a podcast. Maybe tell our listeners how they can find you and how they can read your writing on this topic as well as listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, okay. So I have started a blog where I share some of my story, and also I like to share what the Bible says about nudity as well on it. So it's sort of twofold. Some of it's personal story, some of it's what the Bible says. Very different to what you do. I don't think it's anywhere near the quality of what you do, but hey, it's out there, you know. And the blog I also do is podcast and video casts. Well,
Okay.
most of them as well. So they can be found on most platforms. However, because of how the platforms work, I probably don't get a big listing when people search for it. So the best way to find it is I've got a website called nakedtruth.online. So it's just nakedtruth.online, and that will take you directly to the website, in which I put all my blogs on, and I have links to uh, the video cast and the podcast from that website. Also have links to your podcast and some other places. I talked before a bit about the website I found that talks about social nudity being able to cure your addiction to pornography. There's a link to that website on mine as well. I can't quite remember the name of it. Um,
Mhm.
Aching to Eden is another one on there, which I know Pastor Jim's been on a few times.
Yep.
So yeah, so that is nakedtruth.online. It's only a recent website. I'm trying to put some regular content there. I'm probably averaging one blog, one show a month these right now, and I'm trying to make sure that that's the minimum I do. So, and look, some of them are very short. The last one I did is about 4 minutes long, and it sort of
Yeah.
tries and brings um the fact that biblically nudity is natural, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a little saying that I use on my blog. I say I'm exposing nudity for what it is. It is normal and it is natural.
There you go. Now, you did mention it's a fairly new website, new blog, new podcast. How many blog entries do you have so far?
Probably 5 or 6. That's how new it is. So yeah.
Yeah, very good. Same with the podcast, single digits for now, but you're growing because you
Yeah.
did just start.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
every blog I do, I verbalize it into a into a podcast. So pretty much what you get on the blog is the text version of what I will be speaking on the podcast, and then of course the video cast is the video version. um,
Yeah.
so it is a bit of work, but I find it's
Yeah.
well worth it. Even in the early days, I have had comments and connections with people. And when I say comments, positive comments. I got a I got an email a couple of days ago from another guy in Australia that's invited me to a clothing optional Bible study by Zoom. You know, well,
Nice.
that come out as a connection to my blog, my podcast. So
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And of course, I remember after we did our first show, it's like, okay, we only have one show out there, folks. So you got to start somewhere. And, eventually we'll each have 10 million shows out there. I'll say, remember back in 2023, 2024, we had one show or whatever. But that's just how it works. You do a little bit at a time. And I'm glad you put it out there. We want people to check that out.
I'll probably put a link to this particular episode on my blog as well. So
Oh, excellent. I appreciate that very much. Now let's turn to your wife, your marriage. Not to get too personal, but you've put this story out there. You were a closet nudist. She married you without knowing this, and of course, this whole time you're thinking, "Man, I got to have my clothes off." Every time you went out of town, clothes came off. Went to a hotel, clothes came off. Your wife didn't know any of this, and we've heard this story a lot. By the way, this is not a unique story, but yours has a much happier ending than most. So after 25 years of marriage or so, you told her, "Hey, by the way, I have been harboring this little secret from me. I probably ought to tell you." You did. What was her instant reaction? I know she's totally accepting now. Was she accepting right away, or did she say, "Bruce, what in the name of heaven's going on here?" Just take us through.
I say this carefully because one day my wife might listen to this podcast, and I love my wife dearly, and she's such a treasure, and
Right.
really appreciate the fact. I mean, I guess I was feeling guilty myself that I
Mm-hmm.
had this thing right, whether it's right or wrong. I was feeling guilty that she didn't know.
Right.
you know.
Understood.
So that's where the guilt comes from, the fact that she didn't know. And there's been times when I've gone to the beach for a skinny dip and my wife didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
So I was feeling guilty, but look how she handled it. It was almost, I was actually a little bit shocked. It was almost just like, oh yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with being nude, you know. I guess there were some things that led up to it too. Like there was a show that was on one of our local TV channels called You Can't Ask That, and they would pick a group of people, and these people would be asked questions. And one day they had You Can't Ask That of a Nudist. So they had a panel of 6 or 8 uh, nudists, and fantastic for the TV station. They didn't blur it out. The nudists wanted to go on nude, and they didn't blur it out. And we sat there and watched it, and some of the questions were interesting, very interesting, you know. But yeah, and so this was even before I told my wife that this is what I like doing. I remember at
Yeah.
the end of watching that with her, I said, I can relate to a lot of that. I can relate to a lot of what they said, you know,
Yeah.
because they were
Okay.
talking about just the freedom and the joy and it not being sexual at all. Um, yeah, I couldn't relate to all of it because some of it was, there was one particular person on it that obviously didn't quite understand social nudity and practiced more of a sexualized version of it. But,
Of
but
course.
in general, most of it was fantastic. So there was a bit of build up there as well. And I think it is possible that my wife sort of might have picked things up sometimes because, there was nothing like, I guess I wouldn't go and run for cover if I'm naked in the bedroom, the door opens, like,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
getting changed in the bedroom, the door opens, I wouldn't go and run for cover. But the other thing was, I'm a father with children. I remember when I was a teenager, my older brother took me we were down the river once, myself, my older brother, and my older brother had a pornographic magazine on him, and I didn't know he had it on him. And he said, "Oh,
Yeah.
Bruce, have a look at this." And he pulled it out and showed me. And I was quite a young teenager, and he said, "Isn't that nice?" And I just said, "Is that what a naked lady looks like?" You know,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
to me, I just said, "Is that what I thought, okay, that's what a naked lady looks like." And I guess as a father, I was thinking of that with my children. I thought, you know what, I want my children to understand that nudity is normal. You don't
Hmm.
have to
Sure.
sexualize it. That was the other side of it's like, and honestly, because I waited so long to tell my wife, I would have liked to have started teaching my children that nudity was normal a lot earlier, but just
Right.
just the little things, So now my wife was and still is fantastic, and
Yeah.
she understands it's something I enjoy, and she allows me to do that.
Yeah. That's very good. We get a number of emails and direct messages here. The outcome is not that. The wife, after 1 year, let alone 25 years, gets really upset, and it's never quite the same marriage after that. Sounds like yours actually got enhanced a bit. And in your mind or in her mind, is there a chance she'll dive in one day and go to a nudist resort or a nude beach with you, or maybe not? What do you think?
Oh, well, I can't really answer that for her. I guess there's a
Right.
desire um, that one day I'd like to teach someone with me that I know, that's close to me, that I love, that
Yeah.
is important to me. Um, but yeah, I guess I really can't answer that question whether she will or won't. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough to say because she's now lived her entire life as a non-naturist, non-nudist, maybe never even thought about it, whereas you've been thinking about it since you were a preteen, as you said. So this is still relatively new information to her, right? Is she exploring it at all, or showing an interest, or just kind of, hey, Bruce, you're naked, whatever. Let's have a ham sandwich for lunch and move on. What's her view?
I can't say she's exploring it. She's just accepting that it's she's just accepting that it's a way I relax, a way I often am. She tends to know that if I've got the house to myself, which can be a rare occasion, that I'm probably walking around naked. Um,
Yeah,
and she's just fine with that. She knows that when I go away, on I normally take off my clothes and live in the hotel room or wherever I am naked. And then I may visit a beach or somewhere like that.
but I'm guessing. Now, I know you can answer this question because it's about you. You are totally feeling a whole lot better and a whole lot more free that you've told your wife this, right? You're no longer sneaking around or harboring a secret. It says, hey, she knows, and she knows where I'm going, and the clothes are off, and no problem. We have this openness between us on my naturism, right? You feel a lot better about yourself and free.
Absolutely. Like as as a naturalist, when you take your clothes off, there's this freedom that you can't explain,
Yeah,
of not
yeah,
having clothes on. Well, there's another freedom when your partner knows about it. So I was sort of finding this freedom of going to a beach and going to my hotel room and being naked. But there was another freedom I found when I actually told my wife about that. Look, I do this, and
yeah,
there's a freedom in that because now I don't have to hide that from her.
yeah. Right,
Um,
exactly. Yeah,
and I guess the other thing was before she knew, there was always this little thought in the back of my mind, and especially with social media around, what about if someone takes a video or a photo while I'm at a nude beach and post it and my wife sees it online? you know,
yeah.
whereas now
Sure, sure.
Whereas now to me, that's not an issue. She knows I was there. You know,
Right,
um, she didn't know the photo was
right.
taken.
Yeah,
I may not have known the photo was taken, but she knows I was there. Yeah.
yeah.
So there's definitely a freedom. Look, I'd like to encourage anyone that's listening to this, that's in that situation where they enjoy um, being socially nude, but their partner doesn't know. Let your partner know, but do it gently,
Yes.
do it respectfully, and
Yeah.
also respect them. See, my wife
Yeah.
respects me, um, and she allows me to take my clothes off and go places, but I also need to respect her decision of not wanting to do that.
Yeah.
As much as
Right.
I'd
Right.
like her to join me, I will respect her decision.
Right. And we have to do that. We can't coerce or force anybody because then it just everything negative comes after that. You don't want to be doing that. Uh, I've heard this from a number of women, more so than men. Men have told me too, but more women than men that your situation is fairly normal. The man walks around nude 24/7, the wife does not. And both are happy with that because they understand each other. They love each other enough. I love you to be naked, honey, all the time, but I understand. And she might not be saying, love you to be clothed all the time. I don't really know. I've never heard that, but it's definitely better when you have everything out there and each of you knows everything about the other, isn't it?
Definitely. It is it
Yeah.
is definitely better like that, and for that respect to be there and understanding. One of my biggest regrets is that I wrote that I waited 26 years to tell my wife, but it wasn't
Right.
just even that, it wasn't so much me hiding it from my wife, it was me hiding it from the world because of the world I was living in. I was in this Christian
Yeah.
circle, nobody could find out. So I
Right.
couldn't
Right.
tell
Right.
anybody, you know,
Right.
not even the one that was closest to me, I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Do you think if you, instead of being a pastor, if you had worked in the corporate world, just a regular 9 to 5 job in an office, you could have been a little more open about this? Or was it the whole pastor thing? Like, I got to keep this a secret. What do you
No,
think?
I wouldn't say it was the whole pastor thing. It was because in my life I've always looked for the truth and searched for the truth. So when I stumbled when I was taught in the early days about God and the Bible, and I accepted that as the truth, um, I guess what I was taught from that was that nudity was wrong. So whether I became a pastor or not wasn't the issue. It was the issue that I had in the back of my mind that the Bible says we shouldn't be nude because we're going to cause lust. Um,
Right.
that was really the thing that made me hide it. So if I had been put in a different circle, and in the place where I was around Christians that would say, look, it's okay to be nude, just
Yeah.
providing it's not sexual, then it would have been different, and then
Yeah.
I would have taken a different road because I would have thought, hey, you know what, this is fine. This is what I'm looking for, the freedom that we can even gather together, rip off our clothes and worship. You know, if
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
had been in a situation like that, then yeah, it would have been different. I would have never have felt to that I had to be locked in this closet. This part of my life was locked in this closet, and no one could ever find out.
Yeah.
Whereas now, hey, look, as far as I'm concerned, it's in the open. When I say it's in the open, I haven't published it on social media or anything. But the
Right.
way I decided to do it with my wife was that we just treat it as normal. So, if something's
Yeah.
normal, you don't go and advertise, "Hey, I'm normal." um, um,
That's right.
you just treat it as normal. So it
Uh,
comes up in conversation.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, I go to a nude beach. That's fine. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a normal conversation.
Well, just like you don't go on Twitter every day and promote the fact that you are breathing right now or that you drank water in the last 24
That's
hours. It's
right.
just normal activity.
Yeah, yeah. Which is essentially what
Well,
I'd love it to just be.
uh,
Um, the problem was that it's such a taboo topic. It's something, within the church, around the Christians I mixed with, and the churches I was in, it was such a taboo topic. Just don't talk about it.
yeah.
And when you do talk about it, it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I am not and never will promote myself as an expert on naturism, nudism, clothes for a living for all the right reasons. And, I know a lot because I've lived the life and I've talked to 5 gazillion trillion people about it. And I read books and gotten all the information I can get and continue to get more as I hear other podcasts, read books, read your blog, and everything else that's out there. But I have heard two themes over and over and over again. Tell me what you think about these. I know you agree with the first one, and that is men have told me when they get into naturism, if they've been addicted to porn or checking out the good looking gal in aisle 4 at the grocery store, all of that goes away. They don't even check women out anymore in the store or on the road or even at a closed beach. It's just whatever because that is all gone. It's, naturism, they accept everybody for who they are and it's no longer sexual or pornographic. First of all, you agree with that, right? That's basically how it works or often does work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I don't think there's a problem of admiration of the human body.
Right.
One of the podcasts I got planned and in the future is going to be called "Did God Lust?" And it's based on the
Right.
fact that when God made Adam and Eve, He looked down at them and said, "This is very good."
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
I think we can look at the human body and say, "This is very good." That doesn't determine lust. Because of course God didn't lust, but God did
Yeah.
admire the human body. So I don't think the
Right.
admiration of the human body, whether that be a male body or a female body or whatever, I don't think that's
Right.
that's a problem. I think porn goes a lot deeper than that,
Yeah.
and yeah. So no, I would definitely agree that starts to go away. I would say you can admire them. You can see someone and admire them. Oh yeah, that's nice. Just like you'd admire
Yeah.
a painting. That's a nice painting. You know,
Yes. Right.
that's a nice statue. And yeah, so I think admiration is very different to lust.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's basically the road I was going down. You don't see a good-looking woman in, again on aisle 4 at the grocery store, and say, "Wow, you look great," and I admire this, that, and the other thing about you. Hey, how about getting together after we're done shopping here and see what happens? We don't do that as naturists ever. And now people who are not into the lifestyle of clothes free living for all the right reasons, oh, they might. They might just hit somebody up at the grocery store. Hey, baby, I'm looking pretty good. Can I help you reach the top shelf, honey? And, whatever, how people are. But that doesn't mean we can't see that same woman, you and I, and say, wow, to us, a really good looking woman. We try to stay away from that because you get into the whole body image thing. Well, why is she good looking and the one who weighs 850 pounds over there isn't good looking?
Yeah,
And then we're off to the races arguing with people. So I don't go down that road just because of that. But I might see a woman who I say, wow, she's pretty good looking. Bruce, what do you think? And he'll say, no, I don't think she's good looking at all because it's all based on our, prior knowledge, prior experience, and what's beautiful to one is not beautiful to the other, but we accept everybody. And then we don't go up and down the aisles at the grocery store looking for good looking women as naturists, whereas, people might when they're not naturists. I guess that's what I was trying to point out.
yeah. It's
You
like,
agree with that? Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Look, I spend a lot of time on social media promoting things and talking about things, and some social media platforms ban any form of nudism. If you're showing your genitals or the ladies have the nipples, they have to be blurred.
Yeah.
Yet the same
Yeah.
social media will put a picture of a big breasted lady on there showing a lot of cleavage and some sexual remark about it, and that's absolutely fine. Well, to me, that's
Yeah.
that's that's an imbalance. It's a so no, yeah, I
Get it.
totally agree.
Now, okay, well, the other one I've heard, now this applies to women. Women have told me this, including our administrative assistant here, Jennifer. I've talked about her before. She grew up in a naturist family as well. And in her situation, everybody was nude. Not only her immediate family, but aunts, uncles, grandparents. That's what they did. Thanksgiving dinner was in the nude. Christmas dinner was, I mean, everything. It wasn't even an issue. That's just how they lived. And she believes that she's grown up as a very strong woman because of that. She said a lot of women don't trust men. There's an inherent distrust of men. And she said, I basically trust everybody, but I can spot a fool in about a half a second. And she said, because I grew up with people who understand it and get it, and they're not out to, do untoward things. And she said, if you live in the clothing world 24/7, yeah, there's a lot of people bobbing and weaving and making moves on you at the grocery store and everything else. But she said, in naturism, nobody does that. So the fact that she's lived as a naturist her whole life, she said that's made her understand people better. It's made her understand herself better. She has 100% total confidence in everything that she does. Now, she's not the only one who's told me that. Multiple women have. They're in a naturist situation, better if they grew up in one, and suddenly life is better for them. They just feel tons better about themselves. Have you heard that as well from women?
I can't say I've heard that, but I could understand that totally. Because in naturism, you've got nothing to hide. You've literally got
Right,
nothing to hide. You take your clothes off, you are hiding nothing, you know,
right.
whereas clothes hide, So I can see how any lady could build more trust with a guy if they've grown up in around a nudist resort or something like that in that
Yep,
lifestyle because they see these people, they've got nothing to hide,
right,
whereas
right.
all of a sudden everyone's clothed. Well, you can hide anything under clothes. You can hide your body
That's right.
shape. You can hide anything. But hey, when you walk around naked, you're not hiding anything.
That's it. Well, even back in high school, which was about 272 years ago for me, the, girls would always, I'd overhear girls talking, hey, I wonder about his body parts or his body parts over there. Always wondering what a guy would look like with clothes off, to the point it would overtake conversations at some point. But again, in a naturist community, you never even have that discussion. It's never an issue. You just dive in, enjoy clothes for a living for all the right reasons. And as we say in just about every show, it takes away everything: the stress, the mistrust, the bobbing and weaving,
Yeah.
the horsing around. It's just where you're you and I am me, and we're having a great time. And when it comes down to it, that's what it's all about, right?
And I think that's one of the problems we've got in this world is we need to present naturism as normal. All right.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just the normal, yet we are told and expected that our children shouldn't see us naked. Other people's children shouldn't see us naked. Our children need to cover up, and that's an expectation, and it does present it does present a problem because early in this interview we were talking about the laws around Australia, the
Yeah.
laws in South Australia. Now, the laws would change drastically if there was children involved. So
Sure.
if the neighbour's child looked over the fence and saw me naked in my backyard, that would be very different than if the neighbour themselves saw me naked.
Right.
But I think
Hmm.
children growing up in a community where nudity is normal is actually healthy for a child. You know, um,
Yes. Yes.
but how do we get there? That's I don't have an answer to that question. How do we get there to promote the fact that this is normal? You know, um, and because if a child grows up in that environment, they grow up knowing and what that person looks like naked.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all of a sudden the female breast is not a big thing to a male because oh yeah, I've seen thousands of them. I've seen them my whole life, and even
Yeah.
culturally you see that. You travel overseas. I think maybe in India, a woman's not allowed to show her ankles, because
Wow. Yeah.
that's immodest. Yet you come to Australia, you see a woman's ankle, you don't think twice. You don't say,
There you
"Oh
go.
wow, look at the ankle," you know, because it's all
Exactly.
very different. And I think that's part of making it just normal, growing up in that. So yourself and your assistant there have grown up in that environment where it has been normal, and it's not a big issue.
There you go. Well, there was a time in the USA, probably around the world, people traveled by horse. We didn't have cars; they hadn't been invented yet. So everybody has a horse. That's how you get quickly from town to town. Then the car came along, and there are a lot of people who thought, "Well, that's just stupid. I have a horse. I'm good to go." Well, now it's hard to find anybody who owns a horse as their only mode of transportation. They might have horses, a lot of people do, but they also have a car or a truck because it's normal now. At one time, it was, my gosh, you have to be kidding me. A car? What is that? And kind of like naturism. It's probably not the best example, but it does illustrate it to some point. Oh my gosh, a naked person, as opposed to, yeah, whatever. Anyway, let's go plan lunch and dinner and have a great day. It's not a big deal anymore because it wasn't supposed to be a big deal, right?
No, it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. Again, going back to the Bible, Adam and Eve, it wasn't a big deal. And right throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament, it wasn't a big deal. But somewhere, and again, it's a cultural thing, I think, because some cultures it's not as bad, but especially in the Western culture, the first world culture, it's a big deal. Yeah, it shouldn't be. It's normal and natural.
There you go. Sad but true. It's not as though Adam and Eve were nude and, flying around like, oh gosh, we're naked. Hope nobody sees us. Like you said, it was just, we're here. We're enjoying life and we are who we are. And it's really been great to talk to you. We've been talking to Bruce from Adelaide, South Australia, former pastor, kept his whole naturism, nudism thing in the closet, so to speak, through about 25 years of marriage. Told his wife she's totally fine with him being nude, 25/8 all the time. And Bruce, before we let you go, tell our listeners again how they can find you and read your blog, your video cast, listen to your podcast. Put all that out there again for us.
Yeah, look, I have a website, nakedtruth.online. So you don't have to have your .com or .au or anything like that. It's just nakedtruth.online. You'll find me. There is a contact page on there if anyone wants to contact me. I would be really interested in trying to, part of what I want to do is try and connect with some other Australians, Christian Australians or non-Christian Australians, just some other Australians that enjoy the nudist lifestyle, that understand the freedom, because I think it's very important that we encourage each other in it and be honest about it. If we're going to treat it as normal, let's stop hiding it. Now, in saying that, I know there's some people that would need to hide it because they got some corporate job or whatever. I do understand that, but I think it'd be great to have a community where it just didn't have to be hidden. So that's nakedtruth.online.
All right. Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to talk to you and read your writings and listen to your shows and watch your shows.
And yours too, Frank.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
We're moving and grooving.
Yes. And hopefully we'll do another show again sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's keep in touch. We'll do this again for sure as you have more and more shows. It's like this show. We started with one. Now we're up there. But again, Bruce from Adelaide, South Australia, go out there and have a great clothes-free day. We'll talk again soon.
We will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. The terrific Bruce from Adelaide, South Australia. Check him out, Naked Truth Online. And we thank Bruce for all of his time on these last two shows. By the way, next week and the week after, episodes 51 and 52, we'll have the very terrific Dr. Vian Aziz, currently living in Wales. You know all about her. She's an internet social media sensation, living clothes-free for all the right reasons and helping guide other people along the way. So the next two episodes, Dr. Vian Aziz. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 50 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.